Hey everybody, welcome to the Bourbon Battalion. This is Bobby. Today we're going to talk about Old Bones Bourbon 15-year reserve. Let's get to it. Okay, so let's talk about this Old Bones. This Old Bones is a 15-year reserve. This is from BackBone Bourbon, which is Nolan. Nolan was gracious enough to give me this to review, and I'm super stoked about it. It comes at a mash bill of 78.5 corn, 13 rye, and 8.5% malted barley. This is 107 barrel strength. And there was 215 cases of this produced, and this is batch number 2. Batch number 2, if it isn't out yet, it's coming out soon. So excited to break this down and talk to you about what's going on with BackBone. So let's pour it. So the things that I always look for when I go through and actually start pouring in this stuff is looking at the general breakdown. What are the eyes? What's it look like? What's the age statement? What's the viscosity? Does it look like it's going to be a big finish? I'm going to look at the overall palate. How does it come to my palate? What's it do at the palate? How does it enter into it? I'm going to acclimate it. I'm going to go to a second pour. I'm going to do a back blast of what was left. And we're just going to go through and give a really good review of what no one is doing with some really good whiskey out of BackBones. So cheers. The smell is wonderful. The eyes looks the part. It looks the part of a 10 to 15 year old. It's obviously convenient that it's age stated, which is fantastic. I love that. But it has a really nice copper hue that I would find to be really what I'd be looking for with an age stated bourbon. My viscosity, I see really good legs. They tend to be not dropping super fast, but they're not breaking up either. They're making it all the way down. So thick, rich, decent, going to give me a great finish to it, so I'm excited about that. On the nose, soft floral notes. There's definitely some oak, some soft sugars in there, caramel, maybe some burnt sugar. I'd say maybe like a little bit towards a creme brulee top. But yeah, smells amazing. Let's go in. Wow, a lot of mouthfeel. Great mouthfeel. Great. As first entry, warms up quite a bit, has some tingling and all that stuff. Comes in pretty smooth. It's easy entry. It's not super proofy. I think the 107 is right about where this should probably be. It does have a nice oily finish. That finish is lingering for sure. There's some tannins hanging on there. I definitely have some oakiness in the back. A slight hug. I'd say that it kind of has maybe a little bit of nuttiness to it and a little bit of cherry, which really makes me think about the NDA. The NDA is from Frankfort, Kentucky. So I have certain thoughts when I think of Frankfort, Kentucky and what's in that area. And then this nuttiness comes forward and this little bit of undertone of notes really is very familiar to me. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was, with there being an NDA, I can't tell you for sure, but what I can tell you as I know what I think it would be. But man, this is really enjoyable, easy. The 107 is a great proof point. This 15 year is not overly oaky. There's still plenty of sweet. Plenty of sweets there. I think there's like some very light caramels. Maybe a little bit of like an almond note. There's a weird almond note sitting in there. And it's prevalent. There's definitely an almond nuttiness floating around there, but there's this sweet undertone that is really enjoyable. When I think of finish, definitely long finish. This is an enjoyable. I don't have to rush through it. I still have it going. There's a lot of oiliness, a little bit of pepper notes in the very back end. A smidge of cocoa, but a little bit of like a, maybe like a nutmeg to yeah, I think of like a, like a nutmeg that's maybe sprinkled on some cocoa. Really enjoyable. I feel like I'm starting to pull like a little bit of like maybe like a cinnamon note on the nose that I didn't get originally. Originally I was getting a lot of floral notes and oakiness and soft sugars and stuff like creme brulee, but I'm not getting that as predominant now. So let me set this aside. I'm going to pull out another glass here, and we're going to do a second pour. So I always think it's incredibly important to work through an acclimation process of your palate, and then take some time to breathe in your nose, out your nose, in your mouth, and that stuff, and let something set aside, which I call the back blast. I'm going to come back to it to see what I think it will be as it opens up, or maybe even on a decanter. So I'm going to pour a little bit more. This is what I call the second pour, or the about face. Normally, when you're talking military jargon, if you're going back somewhere, you're talking about an about face. So I'm going to go back to it because I want to see, does the second pour open up a little bit as I go through and talk about it, and I open up my overall palate and my nose, my retro inhale, and the overall taste experience. So now it has changed a little bit. It's gotten it even has a little bit of an oily note on the nose now, but it almost has a little bit of more of like a candied pecans, from an almond to a candied pecan. So it is sweetening up a little bit, coming along the base a lot more of what you would expect in a classic bourbon. But the age is coming through. But it's not so much that it's taken away from what it can be. Oh, this is a really, really good drinking bourbon. And the 15 year has not taken away from the sweetness and the enjoyment of the bourbon. Actually, it's kind of brought it down to a point that makes it really enjoyable, so that it ain't so sweet. And the tannins hasn't come up so much to make it tart. So it's gotten really enjoyable. I liked it on the first pour. I like it even better on the second. So I'm excited to see what this is as it opens up. There's some like weird vanilla undertones, but it's more of like a vanilla wafer, like a waferish kind of note. Yeah, it's silky smooth. It's really flowing. Nice oil content, great finish. This would be a great cigar smoker all day long. So let's go back over here and see what the back blast is. Way sweeter. So as it opens up, it sweetens up. This has turned into much more of what I would say with like a dose. It's very soft, sweet. Maybe some syrupy undertones. I don't know that it's necessarily maple, but syrup, pancake syrup, waffle syrup, whatever you like. And the palate matches. Definitely opens up. Definitely gets a little bit sweeter, a little bit syrupier, kind of more along the somewhere between syrup and honey. Really nice, but I think that age is what brings that dark note that makes it not white honey, more of like a comb honey. Oh, absolutely delicious. So to recap, Old Bones 15-year reserve. This is a great whiskey done by Nolan over at BackBones. Look at their stuff. They have a lot of good stuff going on there. They have this guy at 107 is a 15-year reserve. It's a 78.5 13 rye and then 8.5 malted barley. Absolutely spectacular. Nolan hit it out of the park on this, and I highly approve of it. I think this could be one of the best 15s I've had in quite some time. When you talk about finish, second pour, entry, boy, it hits the target on everything. So check them out. You won't be disappointed. And until the next time, Battalion out.